Okay, today we are playing a game on Hanamura. The average SR of this game was 631, and we will be playing Zenyatta the entire way through the game. And our current team composition is Winston, Orisa, Pharah, Soldier, Zenyatta, and Ana. So apart from the Orisa, it's a very standard team. We would rather not have Orisa. I would rather have a D.Va personally, but a Zarya would also be a better switch. Reinhardt would be theoretically better if Reinhardt was actually a very good hero right now. He is not, though. So, D.Va or Zarya are about the best we could actually do. So, in the accompanying electronic mail, it says, I think the main issue I have with Zenyatta is really just ult execution, which for Zenyatta is a huge deal. I often end up with games where I feel very dissatisfied with my ults. Either I use them too liberally, like in this game, or too conservatively, i.e. I hold it all game because the enemy team never uses any actually impressive ultimates like Tact Visor or Dragon Blade. Any advice on this would be great. So, I do think you've identified the major issue with this game, which is ult execution. To sort of briefly sum up when you would want to use your ultimate if there isn't an impressive ultimate, because usually if there is something like Tact Visor or Dragon Blade or Graviton on the enemy team, you're usually saving it to stop those ultimates. If the enemy team seems like they're never actually using those ultimates, or they don't actually have any impressive ultimates on their team, which happens sometimes. Sometimes the enemy team is going to be like, McCree and Hanzo, something like that. Neither of those ultimates generally require Transcendence, unless you're also caught in a Graviton, but we already covered that. So, if there isn't an impressive ultimate on the enemy team, basically you just use your ultimate to spike heal people up as quickly as possible, because Zenyatta is a very low output healer, sort of tied with Lucio. For comparison, Zenyatta's Harmony Orb is 60 HP per second. Mercy's Staff is 60 HP per second. Lucio's amped up healing is 35 per second. Unamped is 16 per second. And Ana is 75 HP per shot, but I don't know what that equals per second. So he's pretty close with Lucio in terms of healing output, very low. But when you're using your ultimate, you're healing 300 HP per second. So, if you see a bunch of people low HP, and you don't think they're going to get healed up in time, or you see your tank has dropped very low and you think he might die, you just ult to heal these people back up. And even if there are impressive ultimates, there are going to be times when that's still the correct play, because it's usually more important to just keep people alive, because if they all die, like, it doesn't matter if you hold your ultimate because you think they're going to use Tact Visor, because if they kill a bunch of people before they have to use those ultimates, they just won't use those ultimates anyway. So, if you feel like a bunch of people are going to die and ultimates aren't happening, or you think somebody particularly important is going to die, you just ult, usually, to save those people, because that's more important than holding it because they might use an ultimate. You can only ever really base your decisions off the information you have at the time. You can sort of figure out roughly what somebody's ult charge is, but if you see that, like, your Reinhardt and McCree are about to die, it's more important to just ult and save those people, because otherwise they wouldn't use the ultimate anyway, they wouldn't need to. So that's sort of the idea behind doing it if there aren't impressive ultimates, and even if they are, you know, sometimes it's still going to be the correct play to just ult to save people. We'll talk about it more as it comes up, though, because there are a few ultimates in this game. So, let's start the game now. And the thought process has been... Actually, I should move my camera because I'm going to be covering something up, I've just realized, because... Well, where can I go? Let's go over here. Because our friend here has actually gone the extra mile and put his thought process in the closed captions for this game. So, we're sitting very far back right now. They've lost two people immediately. They've lost their Bastion and their Lucio, which is kind of a big deal, because they've lost their healer. Now they've lost one of their tanks as well. So we should be able to get this point basically for free. We're sitting very far back, but we got hit by the Helix rocket that hit other people, which is unfortunate. Now we don't want to go in there because Symmetra's in there, so we're just gonna, like, watch our team go through the doorway instead. They can deal with that. There is microwaving happening behind us, which we didn't turn around to look at, but we did hear, like, Symmetra's beam attached to somebody and start microwaving them, so we should have turned around to, like, see if we could help with that, rather than just kind of ignoring it. We caught a glimpse of Lucio around there. Now, this is a very scary place to stand right now, because we just saw a Lucio coming at us, and we're standing right next to the ledge behind us. So when you see a Lucio coming at you when you're on this point, you want to make sure you're not standing next to the doorway that we're currently standing at, because you don't want to get bumped off the edge. Here comes Reaper. Reaper has definitely not got his ultimate, so there's not much reason to be afraid of him Wraith forming in. We should be, like, trying to put the Discord orb on him. We seemed very afraid of him getting killing us around the bell. Just, like, turn around, go around and put it on him so that he dies quicker. I mean, you can snowball it with no ultimates if you kill people appropriately, but that kind of didn't happen. Yo, Cat, don't do what you're thinking about doing. I see you. Stop that. You have to sort of kill people at convenient times to snowball it, so that's not really happened for us, so it's going to be hard to snowball it through. That being said, actually no, never mind, that's not right. I was going to say something, but it was just going to be, like, objectively wrong information. Here's the cat. Yo, Cat, can you get out of the way of the monitor, if at all possible? I do kind of want to see what's going on. No, don't show everyone your ass. Have some decency. So, yes, we are standing. Basically, this is the perfect place you can be standing as Zenyatta. So, we can just sit back here and have the time of our lives, just putting orbs on people, shooting at them. They can't really get to us because we're so far back. And we've got Transcendence, which is cool. A lot of ultimates are happening on the point right now. So, we end up ulting coming up right here. I regretted not pressing it sooner. I was pretty convinced that even with the attack visor, they were still losing the brawl rather handedly. Also, I totally mess up the execution anyway by not hopping off the old high ground. Yeah, basically. We wait for a really long time. Then as soon as we get under pressure, then we ult and just kind of sit here for a while. So, you seem to have pretty much figured out the issue with that one. Yeah, as soon as I hear I've got you in my sights, I'm gonna ult and hop off the high ground to support those people down there. Well, okay, not necessarily immediately if I heard it, because it would depend on if I thought they could kill him quickly on the point. If, say, he was in Winston's bubble, and it looked like they were gonna kill him without actually taking any damage, I wouldn't have ulted. But, at the same time, Attack Visor is one of those ultimates where if you just ult as soon as you hear it, that's generally gonna be the better play, so. Yeah, but then we do it late, then we don't jump down in time. Now we're gonna get microwaved by Symmetra, and that's gonna feel pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know that it was completely your fault, because, well, I mean, okay, like, yeah, it was kinda, but I don't know that you would have gotten that point anyway, because it didn't feel like we had enough tempo to actually keep the pressure on. I feel like they were actually gonna just reinforce and push us off the point anyway. But at the same time, we'll never know, because that happened in an alternate universe. So, we're coming back around now. There's a lot of talking in my ear right now. Team is hellbent on walking through the bottom gate here. Yeah, that's gonna happen. That's, especially in this SR. People, generally want to just take the most direct route to the point, and in general, people in lower SR are just kinda like, I'm gonna fight on the point because we want to capture the point. Well, yes, that's true. But at the same time, if you capture the area around the point, that basically means you get to capture the point anyway. So, but whatever. Yeah, that's gonna happen. The thing is, though, also, Zenyatta is actually a very good hero to play in low SRs for a couple of reasons. First off, in lower SRs, like, the biggest difference in low SR compared to high SR is that the time to kill, like, it takes someone in low SR significantly longer time to kill somebody than it does in higher SR. That's the thing that changes the most. People are dead very quickly in high SR. So even though you're a lower healing output hero as Zenyatta, it tends to not matter because the enemy team is worse at actually killing people. So your lower output healing is kind of evened out by the fact they aren't doing their damage correctly. But the other thing is that you can actually do damage. Zenyatta is the support that has the most, okay, this is debatable now since Lucio got changed recently. Zenyatta is debatably the most active contributor in a fight of all the supports. Mercy, of course, can't contribute actively at all unless she pulls out her pistol, which means she's not actually being a support anymore. Zenyatta's orbs are set it and forget it. So that means that if you're just decent at aiming, you'll actually carry your team anyway. So here's sort of how it can go in low SRs, right? With Hanamura. Yeah, your team's gonna try and brute force it through the center point most of the time. However, the defending team is also low SR, so they're probably not going to understand the importance of holding this high ground. As evidenced by the fact that earlier we just kind of got to walk in by ourselves and we got to just sit up here. No contest at all because no one was up there to contest it. So, even if your team is going to go in like this, in most cases, you should still just be able to walk up this way, and then you get to just sit up here, and you have free reign, basically. Where you can sit there, and you can do damage. As long as you're decent at doing damage, should be able to, like, carry your team as Zenyatta in a lot of games, just because he can contribute actively in a fight, while also supporting his team. Lucio can also do this, but Lucio has like a higher skill cap associated with this, because you have to actually get in there in people's faces. Zenyatta you can play very similarly to Soldier, where you just sit really far back shooting at people. So even though your team wants to do this, it doesn't really matter that much, because the enemy team won't be doing what they're supposed to do either, and you doing what you're supposed to be doing should even it out, really. That was a very long-winded explanation, but the moral is, yeah, if your team's not doing what you want them to do, don't worry, the enemy team probably isn't doing what they should be doing either. So, we've got a Roadhog coming around here. We can see his nameplate coming, so we were trying to charge up the right click on him. Fair enough. Now, Roadhog is still scary to us post-nerf because Zenyatta's hitbox is such that he can pretty reliably nearly one-shot us, if not one-shot us, because we are just a giant floating cube, so we're actually very easy to get all the pellets into. So, we do have to be a little bit worried about this. However, we just saw him use his hook, so we're no longer scared of him at all, basically. A lot of ultimates happening over here. Yeah, like, that's fair enough, but you can sort of infer how many people it hits based on where we are. Because, well, first off, there's only 2 people in front of us, and we saw the direction it came in, so it can have only, at max, hit 2 people. But we can see Orisa is standing behind her shield because she's, protecting her bongo. And so, basically, he's going to only have ever hit at most 1 person. So, even though you couldn't really see, you can kinda tell how many people have gotten hit by that just by, like, the way your team is positioned around who they are. So, this is an unnecessary ultimate because I'm not gonna ult to save 1 person's life from an ultimate in most cases. Unless they are a very important person like, Reinhardt. Well, okay, I say Reinhardt because that's just, like, my default reaction, but, like, Reinhardt's probably not who you've got anymore. If it was, like, my diva that was gonna get killed, you know. So, we've got the bongo here, then we see Symmetra coming in at us. As soon as you see Symmetra just anywhere nearby, start backing up. Like, yeah, sitting behind the shield is fair enough because you're sitting behind a shield, but as soon as you see Symmetra in the neighborhood, start backing up because you don't want to risk her getting the tether on you, because if it gets on you, well, then your only defense is to kill her very quickly. So, we didn't get through very far on that push either. It's very upsetting to me that we still have an Orisa, honestly, because Orisa is going to be very bad at pushing into this point. And, we're sort of seeing that.
They won't be able to cap the point.
Yeah, trying to get people up onto the high ground. They're still not coming up onto the high ground. You can't control your team. You know, whatever. We are lucky in that this is one of the points where we can just sort of do our own thing, and we're still contributing with the team. There are certain maps where you are just kind of fucked if your team doesn't want to stand where they should be standing, and you have to go stand with them. For example, the first point on Dorado. If they all decide that they want to stand, like, outside of the spawn gate, well, you have to stand further up. You can't really just sit on the ledge, because your whole team is gonna die in front of you. And, like, yeah, you're where you're supposed to be, but your whole team died, so it didn't really, accomplish anything. Fortunately, with this one, we can get to the high ground by ourselves, in most cases, and still contribute to the team as much, so we're lucky in that respect that our team doesn't want to work with us on this map, in particular. So we are just sitting all the way back here, shooting into these people. I'm not sure what Anna was really doing right there. For a second, I thought somebody was actually standing behind us, because it kind of looked like she might have been trying to shoot through us, but I guess not.
Everywhere on the point.
So we're sitting really far back. Enemy can't really do anything to us, so yeah. Yeah, she did build that up really fast, but Orisa, like, they have some people to farm ultimate off of, and the bongo actually builds up pretty quickly. So we're very slowly advancing in. We can hear Symmetra in here, and then we killed her. Then we killed Roadhog, everything's going well. Panicked and pressed Q. Yeah. Generally don't want to ult in Panic, because Panic ultimates are usually pretty bad. It still looks like we should be able to capture this point, right? But we are on a 2 CP map. Accidentally emoted. Yeah, don't do that. So the thing is, we are standing up on the point as well, and we don't need to be doing so. We could still be standing very far back right now and be contributing still, because we've slowly drifted our way onto the point, but we don't need to be. We can still be standing over on the doorway, and that would perfectly be fine. Like, we don't need to be standing here. And then, if we were standing further back, Roadhog doing this would not be very scary. We are also positioning very questionably while he's doing this, because while he's ulting, we slowly drift in front of him as well. But if we just back up more towards the side, like we could go more over in like this direction and stand over by this doorway, and we'd be out of the way, which is good. And if somebody comes over here to stop us, it's probably just going to be one person, which is not really that scary. And they'll be more concerned with just standing on the point right now anyway. So we could just drift over this way, and then, like, very calmly just, like, shoot into the Roadhog instead. But we're sort of opting to stay very much in the middle of all the things that are happening. And we can hear the Dragon Blade happening off-screen right now. We don't have our ultimate right now because we panicked earlier, so enemy team's reinforced, they're gonna get it off, they're gonna get the point off of us. This is a bad way to phrase this. They're gonna stop us from getting the point. So, the enemy soldier has actually just been knocked right next to us. He's on the staircase right below us, and we don't appear to have noticed. So we should have changed to the soldier, because he was sort of the most pressing threat to us right there. But at the same time, should have just been leaving the point probably anyway, because we could see that most of our team was going to get killed by Dragon Blade. Their soldier has just, I assume, misclicked his ultimate, because we just heard him use it while everybody is respawning. So, I can't imagine that was intentional. We do almost have our ultimate built up again. We could start going up this way. Like, we could be standing up here and help our team while we're all still, like, collected out here. But then when your team actually starts advancing in, you can just very quickly, like, come back around here and get up onto the perch that we were at right near the start of the game. And that's a good place to stand, and we'd still be able to support our team, but we're up on the high ground, which is really strong, as we know. So we've got Transcendence again. We just lost our Winston, so not much is going to be happening in the near future. Well, okay, not much should be happening in the near future, but we can't rely on our team to not just go in anyway. We've just lost Farah as well, which is a very inconvenient time, because this is right as Winston's going to be getting back, so telling our Farah as passive as Ken that she's not supposed to, yeah, common thing on this map. People who can go across the gap are like, I'm gonna go across the gap. You know, like, you've gotta, if you're not Tracer or Genji, that's pretty scary. Or I guess Reaper, but like, Reaper as well, he can't, like, get out if he gets across the gap, usually, so. So Orisa, like, you know, that was an illegal maneuver. All of these people are dying at very inconvenient times, because they're all so we lost Winston, which was obviously terrible. Then, as Winston was probably, like, getting back, we lost our Farah, and now, right as Farah's gonna be getting back, Orisa just died. So, we've been down one person this entire time, because the deaths are staggered as such. We're also looking to lose Winston again, right as Orisa's gonna be getting back. So, we're having, the staggering issue right now. Now we've lost Anna right as Winston's respawning. We're gonna die as well, because Reaper's running us down right now. Yeah, they just came out, killed us. As soon as Reaper's on top of us like that, we're basically fucking dead, because we're a big square. Farah sounds very defensive. I don't know what we said exactly, but, you know, she seems to be getting very defensive about it. So we've also just lost both of our tanks now, right as all of us are getting back, so this is, again, a very inconvenient time. Basically, like, you know, there's not much you can do about that because we've basically just wasted an entire minute because of staggered death timers. And Soldier's ulting right now, which is a questionable life choice, but there's nothing you can do about that, you know? Yeah, this is a very bad tack visor. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, exactly. Like, it doesn't seem like that one was a misclick, because he actually came out and started shooting at us. So I guess he was just really feeling it, Mr. Krabs. So, we've got Genji over here. Genji's pretty spooky. And then we see Soldier come up in front of us. We didn't put the, Discord Orb on Reaper right there. Reaper is more threatening and is also the one running directly at us. So we should put the Discord Orb onto Reaper right now. Even if we're planning to use it, like, he's the one we kind of wanted on right there. Right as we push Q, Genji uses Dragon Blade as well. So we get to just stop that, because Tack Visor's also happening. So we end up, we don't quite know what we want to do right here. Also, I think that was a fine Tack Visor, by the way. Even though we're in a very unusual position, I think this is the correct play, given the position we're in. We're a bit indecisive here about whether we want to go down there, or whether or not we want to help kill the Reaper. The Reaper is kind of the more concerning thing. You know, this is actually, like, I've never actually thought to use Zenyatta's right-click like this before, because I've just never been in a position where that's been applicable, but that makes a great deal of sense. So, now we're up exactly where we want to be. We're up here again. Nobody's going to come up here and fight us. Anna's up on the ledge over there as well, which must feel pretty good for her as well. If I was Honor, I'd want to stand on the ledge that we're standing on, because that's a little bit more awkward line of sight-wise, and also the enemy team can get to her more easily, because they can just walk up the staircase. Here, there's an extra step that they have to take to actually get to us, but we're not playing Anna. So, Bongo's happening, it's still reaching us. Oh, that Earth Shatter actually hit a lot of people. Actually, no, it only hit, Orisa, didn't it? I lied to you. So, we're getting a little jump down because we think they're about to die. Yeah, fair enough. They are, as we can see, they are indeed about to die. Reaper just got pushed into the pit. Very sad for him. But we didn't notice that our teammates did get killed over there, and we didn't step onto the point. Feels bad, man. We were gonna lose that regardless. There's no way, like, you moving onto the point was gonna stop that from happening. So, now we're defending. What exactly were we talking about that came up? So, hold on, I don't know exactly what that thought process thing was about. I didn't recall it, so I just have to caption it. They're gonna have a sim for sure next round, so a Pharah and a competent tank is necessary. Why are they gonna have a sim? Yeah, that's very perplexing. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on right there. So far as, like, they're gonna definitely have a sim for the next round, even though they're attacking. So I'm not really sure where that comes from. Attack sims aren't uncommon. They are. They are quite uncommon, actually. Well, I say that, but, like, I'm in, like, the SR bracket where I see one every fucking game, because I've reached the SR where, like, all the people who are one-tricks on these weird heroes kind of get stuck. So it's like, I see the same, like, Torbjorn and Symmetra one-trick players, like, very, very frequently. So, I mean, you know, but attack sims are pretty uncommon.
Our pricing isn't wrong. I mean, sim main in comp, so...
Then why are you not playing sim then? I'm a sim main in comp, but why are you not playing sim then? Whatever. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, like, here's the thing, right? Is that whenever people talk about attack Symmetra, I always kinda think about it, because, like, I think about the Reinhardt. I mean, this is why it doesn't matter anymore, because now our tanks are, D.Va and Winston, or Zarya. But I think about, like, the old school comps that are, like, Reinhardt, Soldier, and, like, a Zarya. And I think Symmetra's right-click goes through shields, so it does kinda, like, fuck with the people if they just kinda wanna dig in somewhere. Like, if you think about the, first point on Volskaya, right inside the choke point. You can stand in the doorway and look over at the edge outside of the choke point. So what usually happens there, or did, is, there'd be a Reinhardt standing there, and then, like, Anna and Soldier standing behind them kinda in the room. And then I think about it and I'm like, if you were playing Symmetra and you shot balls in that area, that actually makes it very difficult for the defenders to actually just sit there and shoot at people as they come through the choke point, because the balls go through the shield, but they still damage the shield as well. So it kind of fucks with it. So I always kind of think about it. But now we play D.Va and Winston and Zarya, and we play like, Pharah, Tracer, you know, it doesn't really, bear much, it doesn't really, stand very much anymore, but I do always kind of think about it, like, there are certain instances, I think, where attack Symmetra does kind of, like, counter what the enemy team is doing in a very specific circumstance. This is a very long-winded tangent off someone just generally being pretty stupid. Sorry, but I do like to focus on people's stupidity and shame. Is this the kind of person I am, you know? So, we've got, a Toblerone now, which is not exactly, super awesome, but, you know, we have one. The cool thing about it is that we are playing Zenyatta, and if you've got armor, it applies the armor damage reduction to your shields as well, so if we can get an armor pack, that feels pretty good, man. Zarya, as well, also really likes having shields, armor, since half of her HP is shields. So, we're sitting all the way back here, perfectly fine place to stand. Anna should honestly be standing over here as well. So we did just see Reaper appear in the window on the right-hand side. I don't know if we actually saw him, but he did just do that, so we should have, like, called that out. Can't hear our own microphone, so I don't know. We never, like, looked at him or shot at him, so I don't think we saw him. So, we're just sitting all the way back here, you know, this is a good time. Looks like Anna's getting snuck up on by the Reaper, because I just saw his pellets shoot across the screen, so there was only kind of one place he could be. We don't, like, they're fighting him over there, it's Anna and Pharah, so they should be able to deal with it, really, but we want to, like, keep an eye on it, at least. Just saw Torbjorn get absolutely fucked right there. Yeah, then we just saw his body cartwheel through the air as well, we're gonna go back and watch that one. Ooh. A poor little Oompa Loompa. Yeah. I panic ult, which is pretty unfortunate. I think that's fair enough to do it right there. Because it looked like you were gonna die. I mean, you probably weren't, because we know that Winston comes in and, like, does that. Alright, let's think about this one a little bit more. So Winston's over there. How low do we drop off of that? Because we're at 170. No, I think that's perfectly fair. I think you would have died if you didn't, because you did drop down to almost dead. So I think this is actually a perfectly fair ultimate. Because if you die, you definitely lose this point, whereas maybe you swing it back around with the Transcendence and Winston here to help you out. Maybe you swing it around until your team can actually get back to you. So I think this ultimate is actually perfectly fair, because I think you were gonna die if you didn't do it. And it's kind of like, you don't want to be the Mercy that dies with her ultimate. You don't really want to be the Zenyatta that dies with his ultimate as well. If you think you're gonna die, and you ult to save yourself, I think that's usually fair enough, because it's usually more important that you're still there. Because, I mean, if you die, and you had your ultimate, if you don't get back in time to use your ultimate, it didn't matter. So, I think, which is usually what happens, because if one or two people start dying, usually you lose the point. So I think ulting to save yourself is perfectly fair, because it's kind of just more important to have the body there, right? So, that's fair enough. So yeah, Winston leaves and you have to contest again. It's only a Lucio, so it's not exactly the end of the world, and you're able to just tuck out of the way once he gets back. Kept the Harmony Orb on the Winston because, I mean, we value him more than a Junkrat, let's be honest here, so... Should have changed over to the Junkrat, like, sooner there, though, seeing as he was, like, about to die. Probably died regardless, though. So Genji's coming at us right now, which is a little bit on the spooky side. Our whole team is here. So, it's, you know, it's not looking too bad. Torbjorn's using his ultimate. I don't know why there isn't a friendly voice line from Molten Core, right? Because that's... Like, why like, Molten Core is a pretty important ultimate, actually, because it's like 12 seconds of, you're not allowed to push anymore. But he just doesn't make any noise if he's on your team, and he's the only ultimate that's like that. Right? Anna makes a noise still, right? Yeah, Anna still makes a noise. So, I don't get why Torbjorn doesn't make any noise for his ultimate, but whatever. Reinhardt as well kind of doesn't make any noise, I guess, but you do still hear the thunder crack of him ulting, so... so we can see Reapers going in over there. And help me not die. Well, I mean, you know, when you're in bronze. So, there's Reaper right there. Very interesting choice that he took to right-click to E right there. I guess he wanted to make sure nobody saw him. The thing is, Reaper makes so much fucking noise when he E's, it kind of doesn't matter. So we can see up in the kill feed right now, let's focus on somebody's shame again. Genji killed Junkrat and then died to Junkrat's passive. So, you know, that's cool. So, here's Reaper, try to right-click him, missed him. Whole team is now aware that he's here, so they're coming back. Soldiers using that, we're very close to having Transcendence, but we don't quite have it, so we're gonna duck around the back out here. Toblerone managed to survive. That was, like, somehow he didn't manage to kill very many people with that. Did he kill anybody with that attack visor, actually? I don't think he actually killed anyone, did he? Did he at least kill Anna? No, he didn't kill anyone. That's incredible, actually, that he didn't manage to kill anybody from that position. Whatever. I guess Winston did put his bubble there, to be fair. So we got a Lucio coming at us right now. So this is kind of spooky, but we actually still have armor, so we're actually kind of tanky right now. We do want to try and make sure we keep this armor on us, though, because we don't want to lose the shield benefit. As long as we still have one armor left, we still get the damage reduction on our shields, so we do kind of want to preserve that. But we're actually pretty tanky right now, because we actually have a lot of actual armor because it applies to shields. So we're actually kind of tanky right now, which is good. So we got Genji in here. He's backed into the corner like a fucking wild animal. You ever played Metal Gear? You know when Grey Fox is getting pinned to the corner by the Metal Gear? That's exactly what was happening right there. We're the Metal Gear. As Zenyatta, by the way, if you're curious. So, yeah, we have ult again, which is cool. This is actually going, like, honestly, you know, we're almost at the end of this round. Doesn't it kind of feel like, honestly, nothing has happened? Like, aside from, like, the bit early on where we were kind of scared and ulted, like, doesn't it just kind of feel like nothing's happened over the last almost 4 minutes? Incredible. Things are going a lot better than expected, honestly. So, there goes, that guy. He's fucking dead and on the moon right now. Genji's using his ultimate. It is one of the ultimates where you just use Transcendence, so I'm not gonna really belabor the point, but at the same time, I am gonna say, try and figure out where he is first, and whether or not he's actually gonna kill anybody from that position, because don't forget his whole team was currently dead as well. And it's not like he's nano boosted, so he's not going to immediately kill anybody, and we've all got armor on us right now as well, because we're actually getting to snowball with Torbjorn right now. So, he's not actually going to immediately kill anybody, so you do actually have time to, like, look around and consider if he can actually do anything with his Dragon Blade. But it is also one of those ultimates usually where you just hear it and you ult, so that's not the wrong decision, but from that position you can try to, like, look around and sort of assess it a little bit more instead of just doing it, because it's unlikely you'll just get killed. So we lost most of our armor, but we've preserved 13 armor, which means the rest, a whole 150 of our shields are still armor currently, which is sick. Enemy team, not got much time left. They're all coming in one by one right now, as, you know, people tend to do. Pharah just ulted and immediately died. Reaper's over here. I think he started using his ultimate, but died like the frame he pushed the button. So that feels bad for Reaper, but he was gonna not do anything right there anyway. And then we win the video game. So we get to see the play of the game. Yeah, looks like it's Torbjorn, which is no doubt going to be very, very exciting. So let's watch that. Bushfire. Feels bad to be Reinhardt. Damn, I got put to sleep right in front of the turret. Yep, Torbjorn never actually saw, like, any of it happening. Oh, textbook. So yes, the biggest issue in this game was, ult execution. And, yeah, you know, I don't think it was quite as bad as you thought it was. I think quite a few of the ultimates were actually fair. Like, I do give the advice that as soon as you hear certain ultimates, you do just ult. So, you know, like the Genji at the end, like, yeah, you could have looked around a little bit more and maybe not used it. But, you know, just using it when you hear Dragon Blade is generally going to be the correct play. This is kind of the thing, right, as well, where it's like, not everything I say will be accurate 100% of the time, but hopefully it'll be accurate most of the time. So you can, like, follow that advice, and then as you personally, like, get better and get more experience, then part of being, like, a, higher ranked player is knowing when these rules are meant to be broken. So it's like right there at the end, it's like, yes, generally you ult when you hear Genji ulting, but you could, if you, think about the position you're actually in, where most of his team is dead and everybody's got armor, he's not nano boosted, it's very unlikely he actually kills that many people, if anybody. So you can then, instead of just ulting immediately when you hear it, you can look at the position and go, okay, maybe I don't actually have to ult even though he is using Dragon Blade. The ultimate right at the start is like the biggest one with Tac Visor, where we didn't, use it immediately and then just hop down. Yeah, should have just basically done that. It was possible your team wouldn't need it, depending on, like, their HP and if Winston could put the bubble around him. I think Winston did put the bubble around him, but Winston was still mostly dead at the time, so, you know. Yeah, so that was, like, the big one. The other thing is kind of like, I'm thinking how best to put this. We're sort of very fixated on what our team is doing and what we want them to be doing. So, like, we, spend a lot of time just trying to go through the center point with them because that's where they're going through. Yeah, we don't want to go through the center point, but if the team decides that that's where they're gonna go, that's where they're gonna go. The thing is that you don't always have to go along with them. Like on Hanamura, you can hang out on the staircase just outside the point, and you can help your team while they're out there, and then when they start going through the doorway, you can reposition up onto the high ground where you're still gonna be uncontested. And then you can just slide on there and support your team from up there. So you don't, like, have to follow them through the center point, even though that's what they're doing. There are certain maps where this is not really an option, like Dorado we talked about earlier. You just have to stand further up. Dorado is not actually the end of the world, because you can still stand on the high ground. You just have to stand, instead of standing on the ledge at the back, you have to stand at the ledge facing their spawn, so you still have to stand further up. That place is still pretty bad to stand, usually, because you can get kind of blown up and killed. So, like, don't, like, if your team is not doing what you want them to do, that sucks, and you can try and get them to do what you want to do. If you don't mind talking to people, you can try and get them to do what you want to do. If they don't do that, you can't do anything about it. You can't control your team as much as we wish we could. So, you just sort of have to, you want to play as optimally as possible while still playing around your team, right? So, like, you're gonna have to stand further up if they're standing further up. Like, this is like defense, usually. If they're standing too far up, you're gonna have to stand too far up. But you only stand just as too far up as you have to, so that you're still, like, in your range helping them. But you're still as close to the best range as possible. So, like, suppose, for argument's sake, on Hanamura, we're defending. Suppose they want to go and stand out by the pillars in the middle of the street. Right, like, looking out to the right on defense, suppose they want to stand under that archway. Obviously, we don't want them to stand over there. That's way too far up, because it's outside the choke point. But, if they're out there, we just stand, like, in the choke point, because then we can still see them, and we're still, like, as close to, where you can help them, but we're as close to as where we want to be as we can be. And so we just sort of play like that. So, like, don't worry too much if your team isn't doing what you want them to do. Just play around it, and play as optimally as you can with what they're doing, right? Hopefully that makes sense. I wasn't quite sure how to articulately put that one, but hopefully it came across. So those were, like, the biggest thing. It was mostly the ult execution, yes. And, like, there's some aiming, can't help you with that, you know. Mechanical things you just kind of have to practice and get into muscle memory, so thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.